I had a lot of conflict, and I had a lot of things that I could work through because I had a very hot temper. You know, I came from the projects, and I grew up in the projects in Jacksonville, so I was always like ready to fight. You got to, stay ready, because that was the environment I grew up in, to where we had to constantly protect ourselves. And so I grew up with that constantly protect yourself mentality. So, and I'm the oldest of four. And my mom worked 2 jobs, and my dad was in the military. So it was like, I gotta protect everybody all the time. And so like, that is how I moved through the world. Even when I was working for various organizations, it was like, I gotta protect everybody all the time. And so I was always ready. I served on boards, but I was always ready to pop off.
You already set.
And then one of my bosses said to me, you make so many valid points, but they're not listening to you because you're angry. And he was like, if you want to reach them, you're going to have to talk to them without wearing your emotions on your sleeves. And I went to go get a degree in conflict analysis and resolution, because I figured if I didn't know how to do it, I'd learn how to do it. Changed my life, changed my relationships.
Our parents give us love, affection, and projection. The vision of who we're destined to be, free. The price we pay is the pain we endure. Never in vain, though, for our passion is our fuel. School of hard knocks, distance learning our pension. Earning every shift, our gifts make room for us by us. Playing our position, keeping the dream in motion. Promotion comes from he who stands in the gap, real rap. Everything we envision needs provision and protection. This is for the resurrection of a people till we equal. Correction, we're already beyond it. Obstacles unimaginable, look how we responded. Potential unfathomable, yet we find ignorance appealing. Ceiling, self-imposed. Till we stop feeling and acting worthless on the mother shows. Truth be told is about purpose. This is how the story goes.
So welcome to another episode of Truth Be Told. Today we're here talking to Donteacia Seymore, founder of Before the Tank. And we're going to learn more about how you can get your product from your idea to conception in 90 days, correct?
Yes, we are.
So welcome, Donteacia. Nice
Thank
to meet
you for having me. We're doing a hand check. We family, but that's okay. I'm gonna let it slide.
True. If they could see below the waist, we would definitely know we're family right now.
Shoes off.
Shoes off.
Relax, comfy.
That's what's up. Beautiful view. Thank you for inviting us down to Tampa to talk a little bit about your hustle game, which is tight. We did our research. So I think we're gonna kick it off with just some very basic questions, just to get warmed up, get to know each other a little bit. Top 5 R&B artists of all time.
Oh, come on. Really?
Top 5.
Oh, that's so tough. That's how you get me.
And no honorable mentions.
No honorable mentions. Top 5 R&B artists. So my top 5 would be Lettucey.
Ooh, number 1?
No, 5, 4, 3,
Just
2,
5.
1.
5, okay.
Top
okay,
5,
okay,
no
top
order,
5.
no particular
No
order.
Okay.
Lettucey, Jill Scott, Erykah Badu.
Ooh. Okay. Okay.
This like the last 2 it's tough for me.
Get it right. This is on camera.
The last 2, no honorable mentions.
No honorable mention, no cheat code.
Layla Hathaway.
Ooh, okay.
She's on repeat. I got like several playlists of Layla.
Okay.
And India Arie.
Ooh.
Those are my top 5.
That's an eclectic top 5. That's
honorable
an eclectic.
mention, Chrisette Michelle. Like,
Chrisette Michelle?
I love her.
She's dope.
Great music.
She's dope.
Questionable other decisions otherwise, but amazing music. I love you, Chrisette.
Okay, we need to get this out to her, man. She got 1 fan left.
Don't do a girl like that.
they getting on her, man. Social media's crushing her.
They are.
So, okay, let's do this again. U.S. or international living?
Ooh. For peace, international. For prosperity, United States.
Ooh, great answer. Great answer.
Yeah.
I wanted that. The peace. Why for peace?
So, I'm black, just in case you hadn't noticed.
Wow. Thanks for letting us know.
I'm full-on African American. And there is a certain energy here in the United States that is not present abroad. I believe that Black Americans are living in a constant state of PTSD because of all the things that are happening to us. We have normalized the dysfunction within the U.S. And when you leave, you realize how dysfunctional we are, and the treatment that we have when we're here. So when you leave, like, you immediately feel lighter, safer. There is still the American privilege that you take with you. Yeah. So being a Black American is different than being a Black African in Europe and Asia. Like, my passport carries a lot of weight overseas. I'm American first, I'm Black second. In the U.S., I'm Black first, I'm an American fifth.
Yeah.
I'm Black,
You're an
I'm
American?
a woman, I'm a mother. I get to American, like, at the end of that list, right? So it's just a different type of energy. So for peace, whenever I am feeling a little overwhelmed, or if, like, I'm upset and things aren't working, I will hop on a flight to Mexico. Direct flight, 2 hours, and I will stay there for like a week. I literally just came back at the end of April because I was a little overwhelmed, making some changes in my business, and I was like, I need to go and have a moment. And I left, and I was there for 7 days, and then I came back.
So
yeah.
So that's your sort of safe haven.
Yeah, it's my safe place, my happy place.
Your happy place.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ayesha Curry. Tell me about whether or not you would have gone there or you would have left it in the house.
I think Ayesha was speaking her truth.
She was speaking her truth.
In a situation
and we definitely support that on Truth Be Told, by the way.
Yeah. In a situation where truth is honored and vulnerability is admired and hoped for, I think the reason why we all tuned into Red Table Talk the way we do is because people are so vulnerable on the show in ways we had never seen before, right? We have access to the emotions, feelings, and the vulnerabilities of these celebrities, people we haven't been within reach of. And all she did was speak her truth and her vulnerability. And the truth is, everyone wants to be admired. Everyone wants to be desired, whether or not they're married or single or whatever. Everybody wants to feel like someone wants them, right? I think that for her, she's like, wait, I got a husband, yeah, true, but I still want men to look at me and lust after me. And that's a natural emotion.
So she could curve them.
Yeah,
because who gonna get her?
Yeah,
for
of course, of course. But
right.
the thing is, she wants to know that they are still looking.
No, I respect
even if
the
they're just like, hey,
yeah.
beautiful, no disrespect, just letting you know you're beautiful. Because there are men who will say to you, hey, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous. I just want to tell you that. Don't want to bother you. Have a beautiful day. I get that, and I'm just like, you know what? I appreciate that. I appreciate that I didn't have to like say something out of pocket or sideways and I could just receive a compliment. She probably doesn't get a lot of that because they don't want to disrespect her husband. Yeah. So, you know, I'm with it.
Which is good. Which is a good thing that they don't want to disrespect their husband.
I think it opened up some dialogue. And I think that, you know, people who don't like Ayesha Curry just don't like Ayesha Curry. Right? And they were going to find fault in what she said, even though they themselves probably would feel the same way. And so she just kind of gets the short end of the stick. And part of that is her fault. You know, and then part of it is just, you know, what we are in our microwave society where everything happens so quickly and we find something else to jump on, fake outrage. So part of that is just fake outrage.
Fake outrage, man.
My friend Orion, he passed a few years ago and he used to post on social media. He'd wake up and say, what are we fake caring about today?
Oh, wow.
Like, that was his thing. Like, what are we fake caring about?
That's good. That's good. That's a great segue. That's a fake caring about. Because we don't, the purpose of this show is really to get behind the scenes a look at entrepreneurship from the perspective of Black or African American founders. Yeah. And I think you talked about trauma and the PTSD. And I think people aren't really aware of the trauma there is of just being an entrepreneur, regardless of ethnicity or gender. Just the ridiculousness to say I'm going to walk away from my job and do something else, right? Is something that most people overlook, and we gloss over it. And because now entrepreneurship is like cool, thanks to Facebook and Zuckerberg and those whole stories and all the startup thing, it's becoming the cool thing to do and be.
The superhero.
The superhero.
We're the American superhero.
But at the same time, we suffer more from stress, more suicide rates, more, you know what I mean?
I do, actually.
And more depression.
I wrote a blog post about it.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so I just want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about the journey, the triumphs, and the trials, right? And so
lots of both.
Lots of both, and you got to be built for it.
Yeah.
Right. So the first thing I want to talk about is I got the impression that you had lost a job or lost an opportunity and that's what kind of thrust you into the entrepreneurship space. Can we talk a little bit about that in terms of that fueling your passion?
Yeah, so my background is not what I do. I went to school and racked up student loans in a completely different area. My background is actually in politics. So I have a bachelor's in political science, master's in public administration, master's in conflict analysis and resolution. I have very big plans to run the world. Just in case you're wondering.
You can still get there, though.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to get there when you got money.
Facts.
Especially
from the American perspective.
Something that I learned is the more rich friends you got, the easier it is to get to the top. So I'm doing it the right way now. And so I was working for the mayor's office as a liaison for the mayor's office and the fire department. And we had an election. New mayor came in, and old mayor went out, and so did everyone who worked for the old mayor.
Old administration.
Yeah, old administration was gone. And at the time, we were in the middle of a recession, kind of we're coming out of it. It was 2011. So we were coming out of the recession, but government hiring was still at a zero freeze. And that was the only real experience I had. And it was the background I had just finished, school for. So I was kind of in a place where I was like, what do I do? Because I was a trained politician at that point, or trained in the art of networking and community and all of that stuff, I reached out to some of my contacts and said, before social media was popping like it is now, I sent the mass text message. And I was like, listen, I need a job. You guys know what my skills are. Here's what I'm willing to do. And someone offered me a position for a super PAC to do some issue organizing. And they paid me with the 1099. So it was like I was self-employed. So I had to figure out how to pay myself and all of that stuff. And that's kind of how I got into being self-employed. And because everybody was looking for a job at the time, and like the field I specifically was in was not really hiring unless you were a part of that year's election cycle. But there's always an election in Florida. Every year's election cycle, either on season or off season, there's always an election cycle, midterms or federal, right? And so I realized that I was going to have to be a political consultant in some capacity, and so I was just always chasing the dollar to make sure that I had a job until something more stable came along. And then something stable came along and I left it. That's how that works.
Got you. So last night we were having dinner and I said...
I didn't get an invite.
How you going to do that to me on camera?
I'm just
what I'm saying? We didn't know. Well, we didn't get an invite for the pool party, so one good hand deserves another. You know what I'm saying? So I said to him, purpose-driven startups, which I call purpose-driven startup, is like starting from like where you are. So like if you're in politics or whatever, can you get from there to owning something in that space?
Yeah.
Because that's where your contacts are, that's where your experience is. It's the easiest place to get your beak wet in terms of entrepreneurship. Yeah. And so just being self-employed. Because just that concept that there is 4 ways to make money, right, in America legally. And the next step, that easiest step is just self-employment. Yeah. Starting where you are. And so, but I said, once you do that and you get a taste of it, you're like, oh, and this becomes contagious. So I start getting into, I'm making all this extra money that is not going to frivolous benefits that I don't really use, right? It's coming to me as a 1099, or, right, self-employed. What do I do with it? Well, now I'm going to get in the stock market, or now I'm going to invest in some other business, or what have you. So I think it's cool. I want to talk about projection and like how you saw yourself in back in the day as I was doing my research. I found that you used to like watching infomercials.
Yes.
So talk about, as you were in political consulting, conflict resolution, which is huge. Yeah. Right? And how that vision of infomercial how ironic is that it turned into where you are today?
Yeah, so it's completely left field, honestly. when I was growing up, I wanted to be a Supreme Court justice, and then that kind of changed over to like a civil rights or human rights activist. I knew that I wanted to be some type of like leader in some capacity that had to do with rights and responsibility or economic empowerment on some level. I didn't quite understand it when I was younger, but I knew that I liked it. I used to watch infomercials because there were times where I would just be up at night, and for those people who don't know, the TV used to go off at a certain time. The TV used to go off,
and the national anthem would play.
Like there was like at 1 o'clock there was no more TV except for infomercials. And so I would just sit up and I would just watch infomercials. I would watch Bob Acosta. I would watch Kevin Harrington. All the people that are now my friends, people I work with, my colleagues. I would watch them, and my favorite show was like Tool Time, with it was like it's stuff like this handy stuff, and so I would just sit up and watch that stuff, and I didn't really dream big about it. I was just like, oh, these are cool products. One day I hope I could just like call in and order something on the phone. That was the only wish I had when I used to watch infomercials, was to have the money to actually order some of the stuff that I saw on there. I was like, oh, my mom, this would be great for her. Oh, I really would like that thing. Thank God I didn't have money back then, because we would have been broke from infomercials. But like for me, it was just another thing to do when I couldn't sleep. I would just sit there and I would just watch all these products, and I'm just like, there's so many, and so it didn't really connect until it did connect.
Right, and that's cool, because one of the things that entrepreneurs do a lot of is staying up late at night. Yeah. Right? So it's interesting that you were up late at night, even as a young person. Right? So now, being this, how did you get from the idea of where you were as a political consultant to actually the product?
So, that was actually just a happy accident. I was, at the time, just coming off of a contract and got another contract because people had realized at that point that I was really good at raising money. It's great.
That's a great skill to have as an entrepreneur in life, period.
I have no problem asking people for money. Like it's a very good transferable skill that I have.
You could do a whole training just on...
I do have a whole training on fundraising, and my clients all have access to it. And I've done a lot of training on it, but sponsorships, VC, angel investors, political organizations, donors, millions and millions of dollars I've raised, over my career. And so I was really good at raising money, and I got a director of development position or VP of development position at a large nonprofit in Jacksonville. It was a probationary 90-day period with the option to extend it if I wanted to and if they wanted me to. And I got about 80 days in. And I was like, yo, because I had to sit there at the office from 8 to 5. And at that point, I had not been sitting in an office for 3 years.
Oh, that's it.
At that point, I had been making my own schedule, doing my own work, hustling and grinding, like having control over how much money I made. Because at that point, I had a salary.
Are you a salary for 90 days?
It was contracted, but it was a salary amount. And I was like, wait, I can only make so much doing this, and I got to show up every day, 40 hours a week. Like, this isn't the life that I've now grown accustomed to. And I began to physically get sick, like physically ill. Like, couldn't get out of bed, nauseous, headaches, the whole thing. And then about 86 days in, I sent an email and I said, I will not be renewing the contract. I will not be coming back.
So did you have something else at the time?
So, yes. I had my invention idea. So at the time, before that happened, I had the idea for the invention, and I got really excited about it, but it was still kind of just like back there. Gotcha. Like there's this thing that can make me a lot of money. My friends really like it. I like it, but originally I made it for me. It was like, I want to make this thing for me because it makes it easier for me to work out with and train with. And my friends were like, well, we want one too. And I was like, well, I'll make some for them too. And then as I realized that having this position was making me sick, I was like, well, let me see what the public thinks about this idea. And if the public gets behind it, I'll quit the job. At the same time,
let's pause right there.
Here's the thing, though. At the same time, I was running for city council. But continue.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're running for city council. Let's talk about the thing. Let's talk about the product first. Let's get into that because that's really important and how I believe you were running when you had the idea.
Yes.
Let's tell that story really quickly, and then we'll go to that.
Okay, so I was running across one of the bridges in downtown Jacksonville, like I did on a regular basis. My daughter was calling me, and I was trying to get to my armband to get to the phone.
This is the one that will wrap around.
Yeah, the one that wraps around. And at the time, I was wearing earbuds where you couldn't just like push a button. You know, now you can, but before you couldn't. And so it's like I was trying to get to the phone to answer the phone. I take the armband off and like almost sling my phone in the river. Right. I'm at the top of the bridge. I want to say it was the Hart Bridge. I'm at the top of that bridge, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? And I realized that would have been tragic, right? And I said, I wish there was a way for me to like actually hold my, like not without holding my phone, but have it access to it from my hands so that I could see who's calling, so that I could skip my playlist, because that was another thing. Like a song comes on, I wasn't really vibing to, I'd have to like run through it. And, you know, it's like little things that people don't like when they're working out.
And this is pre-Apple Watch.
Pre-Apple Watch.
Right.
Pre-smart stuff.
Gotcha.
Right? And so this was Samsung 3.
Oh, wow.
So I had a Samsung 3. It was built to a Samsung 3. So that lets you know that was a while ago. It was 2013.
Wow.
So it was a while ago. And
in terms of phones, that was a while ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago
Yes.
in terms of phones. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to just take this thing to the back of my hand and see how it works. And if it works, I'm going to have a glove created to where I can have it on the back of my hand so I can track my workouts. I don't have to hold my phone so that they can have the motion, like the running motion. And I can access it to like change the playlist, take phone calls, whatever. And so I created that prototype for me, my fitness friends, because I was big into fitness back then. I used to do amateur competitions. And they all wanted one. And so I'm like running for city council at large, which is basically a mayoral campaign because it's the whole city. I have this VP of development position, which is cool and all. I get to raise money for the kids, so that was cool. And I just was like, this is not what I want to do. Like, I just didn't feel full. I didn't feel complete. I felt like I was forcing myself to do this just so that I could stay afloat. And I said, you know what? I'm going to launch a Kickstarter campaign. And if the Kickstarter campaign funds, I'm going to drop out of the race and I'm going to quit this job. Right? Because that lets me know that there is another opportunity here for me.
Right.
I always thought my product was $1 million product. And I had seen so many infomercials. That's when it started to connect. I had seen so many infomercials. I could see myself selling it as an infomercial. Right? So like that's when the connection kind of came, came full circle 20 years later.
That's big. That's so big.
Yeah. And that's kind of how it happened. I launched the Kickstarter campaign. We funded it, raised $15,000 in the Kickstarter, raised another $25,000 private all that month. So I did $40,000 that first month, and just
dropped
family
out
and friends.
Of the race.
Dropped out of the race on a Friday. The incumbent dropped out on a Monday.
So you would have.
I would have won. I would have won.
That's rough. Do you ever wish?
No.
Wow, good. So you know this is where you want to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no question. So talk about, in terms of position, it's really important in entrepreneurship where you are. And I take it from, imagine growing up in Queens or the Bronx, or Brooklyn for that matter, in the 80s. You would likely, you could hit a rapper with a rock. You know what I'm saying? Like if you think about how rap originated and that, I mean, it just really came. And so, and you can it's like Silicon Valley for hip hop, right? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, and of course, Silicon Valley, right? And what that does in terms of tech startups.
Yeah.
Right? And so position is really important as an entrepreneur. What made you go overseas? How did you make those decisions? And talk about, what that experience was like.
So, it was one of those things to where, honestly, I left because of Sandra Bland.
Sandra Bland?
I left the country because of Sandra Bland.
Oh, wow.
So at that point, I was already, because this is 2015.
Did you have some kind of similar experience? I mean, or were you just that traumatized by it?
So I had my fair share of run-ins with the cops. And I have a very smart mouth. I'm one of those, I know my rights. And it just hit so close to home because I had been vocal politically on social media. It just hit. So many other things were happening with the men at the time, like, all the other men that were getting killed, choked, all of that was happening. And then it happened to this woman, and I saw myself in this situation for the first time, right? And then I was really upset with the black community, the male black community, and how quiet, they were around this issue when for the men it was not the case. We were rioting in the streets. And so I just didn't feel safe. I didn't feel appreciated anymore. And at that point, my business was a virtual business. I was a business coach at the time. And so my clients were all online anyway. They were all phone calls, or we would meet in coffee shops. And so all I had to do was move it online to like a video chat. And since I had that luxury to work from anywhere, I had a friend who was launching a program to travel around the world for a year. She's actually my former co-founder of my invention company. And she was taking people around the world in my Wonder Year, and it just was a perfect opportunity for me to take my daughter and myself to travel for a year with a group of people that we knew in a very protected state and get to see the world at the same time. So I had traveled before, I had taken my daughter out of the country before, but never far away for such a long extended period of time. And so it really was just kind of what's the worst that can happen? Because a lot was happening at the time. There was so much televised killings of African Americans in America.
That was like
2015, 2016, it was rough. That's why I said the PTSD. Like, we were living in a constant state of fear. Like, when I did come home, the first thing, I got pulled over by a cop when I got home. Wow. Driving from Atlanta down to Tampa, and got pulled over for speeding. I was going like 78 or something. Not really that fast. And I got scared for a minute. He was super nice. Super, super nice. But I got scared because I was like, I just lived in Mexico for a year. How horrible would it be for me to come home and get shot to death within the first 2 weeks of being back in the United States after being gone for 2 years? I was like, I lived in Medellin. I lived in Mexico. I come home, and on 75 is where I lose my life. Right? And so that all kind of ties into it. But I left because the opportunity was there, and I wanted to, I needed to get away. I needed a mental health break from the U.S.
So in terms of position.
Yeah. That's why I came back.
You came back because you wanted, why?
To grow my company.
You felt like you couldn't grow it there?
No.
Really?
No. The ecosystem is different. It's a vacation ecosystem.
So their business is tourism.
Yeah.
Right.
And most of the people there, even the entrepreneurs, are living a laptop lifestyle, life. And so like they're just working 2-3 hours a day on their laptop, and they're calling it a day. And that was cool for the time being. And then when I realized I wanted to have something bigger, I needed to have the right connections. Tampa was the obvious choice, being the consumer product hub of the U.S. This is where you talk about positioning.
Yes.
Everything's here. QVC, HSN, As Seen on TV, Amazon. They're all located in St. Pete, Clearwater, and Tampa.
Yep.
And all of the TV personalities from the infomercials and commercials, they all live here. Wow. Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx, is actually from Clearwater. Her mother lives there. She spends a lot of time here. And so all of the connections that I needed to grow an invention company, a consumer product company, was right here in Tampa. And so that's why I moved home. And within the first month, I had meetings with all of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Talk about getting here and then partnering with these people who run that space.
Yeah.
To help you promote your product.
So, you'd be surprised how many people don't send the email. I tell people all the time, just send the email.
Man, that's,
who
that's good right there.
Seth Godin
just send an email.
Answers his email. I talk to Seth Godin maybe once every couple of months, because 3.5, 4 years ago, I sent him an email. And I said, I just want to let you know you're amazing. I read all your stuff. Because on his website, he says, send me an email. I check my emails.
Wow.
He said, I may or may not respond, but I checked them. And I think I sent it around Thanksgiving, and I wished him a happy Thanksgiving, told him how much I admired him. And I said, one day we're going to be friends, Seth. I'm just letting you know right now, you may think I'm crazy. I've been drinking some of the hot toddy, but that's going to happen. And so what would happen is every few months, I would just email Seth, be like, hey, because he sends emails every day. He has the longest running email blog. He's the father of modern day marketing. So he's been sending emails every day for the last 11 years. Wow. He has a blog every day for the last 11 years, right? And so you always get an email from Seth, right? And so I would send an email and I say, hey, read this article, thought it was amazing, keep it up, blah, 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 blah. Did not ask him for anything for at least a year and a half, 2 years. And the first thing I asked him for was to be on my podcast. He told me no. So I said, why not?
What?
And he said, because that time that you gave me doesn't work. I said, well, what works for you? He's like, I can do Friday. And Seth Godin was the first person I interviewed for my podcast. And now we talk all the time.
So two things. Just send the email.
Just send the email.
Just send
and then
the
follow
email.
Up. Don't take no for an answer.
I mean, the why not? Mm-hmm. I need that on a t-shirt.
So let me tell you why I said why not. I was doing...
Who would have done that? Like,
I read the book. I think it's like Getting Comfortable with No or 100 No's or something. It's this guy who asks for things every day. It was like the opposite of a year of yes. It was like a year of no.
Trying to getting to yes.
Well, he was his
accepting
thing was,
no's.
He was trying to make himself immune to a rejection. And so, and I'm going to give you the book so you can actually put those in the notes. But I read that book, and so at the time I was practicing the rejection method, which was 30 days of no. So
just finding people to tell you no, or
finding people, asking for whatever I wanted,
and being okay with
being okay with no, wow. Right?
We talked a little bit about you have masters in conflict
analysis and resolution. Yeah,
you have
changed my life.
Yes, for sure.
Changed my life.
But I'm sure that helps even with the absorbing the no's, right, and the rejection and stuff like that.
So it was actually supposed to be a PhD, but after 3 years, I was like, I'm literally tired of this.
Right.
And can I just get a master's instead? Can you please just
give me
my master's and I can go about my business? But it was originally a PhD program, and the entire program is you as your own subject. So we had to use conflict in our everyday lives. And I had a lot of conflict.
Right. Okay.
And so I had a lot of conflict, and I had a lot of things that I could work through because I had a very hot temper. I came from the projects, and I grew up in the projects in Jacksonville. So I was always like ready to fight. You got to, stay ready, because that was the environment I grew up in, to where we had to constantly protect ourselves. And so I grew up with that constantly protect yourself mentality. So, and I'm the oldest of 4. And my mom worked 2 jobs, and my dad was in the military. So it was like, I got to protect everybody all the time. And so like, that is how I moved through the world. Even when I was working for various organizations, it was like, I got to protect everybody all the time. And so I was always ready. I served on boards, but I was always ready to just pop off.
You weren't ready set.
And then one of my bosses said to me, you've made so many valid points, but they're not listening to you because you're angry. And he was like, if you want to reach them, you're going to have to talk to them without wearing your emotions on your sleeves. And I went to go get a degree in conflict analysis and resolution, because I figured if I didn't know how to do it, I'd learn how to do it. Changed my life. Changed my relationships.
Change your life. So conflict resolution, being ready to fight, being a fighter in general is necessary as an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
Right? As a woman entrepreneur, as a black woman entrepreneur, right? So and then, so we can go on and on, right?
Yeah.
And then you know how to raise capital, right? So you have some of the best skill set.
People like to give me money.
Right.
Money looks for me.
For an entrepreneur.
It's also mindset.
It's a mindset.
Yeah.
Right? But it's once it becomes a mindset, it's in your skill.
It's in your DNA.
It's in your DNA. And so this is your tool belt, right? And you're going, all of these things are sort of by nurture or nature, you acquire, and I tend to call that penchant, right? You know what I'm saying? And those are the things that you take to the marketplace to make your business work. Yeah. Because it's going to have to start with you. Yeah. Right? So I'm really impressed, and now I understand a lot better with the fight. I was like, okay, she got some go hard to her, and I could tell just from watching the video, she definitely has some. Yeah. Sometimes I still get a little passionate, and I'm it's
like,
okay though, because it's okay. That's how it would be described if it was a white man, right? Yeah. If a white man said the same thing in that meeting,
it's passion.
It's passion, not anger, right? And so some of the work is on them, but that's a different conversation. You know what I'm saying? So
totally different.
If you just want to get your money, just get your money, do the work, and move on. But it's not always the anger from us. Some of it is just anger, and some of it is just passion,
Yeah.
right, and how you communicate.
Yeah.
So we need to be fair to ourselves in that whole PTSD thing.
Yes, we do. Gentle with ourselves.
Yes.
We need to be gentle with ourselves.
And love on ourselves a bit. So talk about selling the company, the product company.
So I did not enjoy having a product company. It was kind of just a thing. I was like, this is going to make me money. I wasn't happy with my current situation.
Why didn't you enjoy that?
I didn't enjoy running an e-commerce business. I didn't enjoy running a product business. Like all the ins and outs of inventory, retail, cost, shipping, import, exports. And even though I'm an expert on it now, I did not enjoy just the constant instability of that lifestyle.
Okay.
Right? It's when you're first starting, it's feast or famine. Like, and even if you do, like, we got a $60,000 order, you got to come up with $300,000 just to fill the order.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's like, where do you get $300,000 from if you don't have that kind of family connection or that level of credit and all kinds of stuff? It becomes
You weren't able to raise that capital?
So I wasn't able to raise the capital, but I actually sold the patent and the products with the actual purchase order. So the person who bought it from us was able to fill it.
Got you.
Yeah.
So do you get any residual licensing?
So I got licensing for the first 2 years. I don't get it anymore.
Got you.
But that was the deal, right? I wanted to be completely done with it because it was not what I wanted to do. It was a valuable learning lesson. I enjoyed building the products. I enjoyed the creating portion. And like the bringing it to life and learning all the moving pieces. I'm a process girl. So like I enjoy the process.
But I think there's something else that you enjoy. I'm picking up on. I think you enjoy empowering people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that when you're running that product business, you maybe you can coach or mentor your employees.
Nothing was happening.
But like you're just building and selling.
Me in a room all the time.
So how do you get to making money? Like, because product business is rough.
It is.
Right? And the margins can be amazing if you're in the right product.
Or they can be super slim.
Or they can be super slim, and you just found yourself a ball and chain.
Yeah.
Right? Talk about that really quickly. Like, how did you get to profitability, or did you ever get to profitability before you sold it?
So yeah, but it was super slim, that margin of profitability. So for me, I actually struggled. That first year, we were in the hole about 40 grand. Like 20, it was actually negative 28 that first year. So, lesson learned, all the things that I learned that went wrong. And I was actually going to quit. I wasn't even going to do it. I said, I'm going to give it 12 months. And I was about to quit, and because I didn't know what I was doing. And a friend of mine, we were sitting out. I was living in a townhome in downtown Jacksonville. And I was sitting on the patio, and I was like, I'm not really sure how it all went so wrong and how it all went so bad. But I'm just going to go back and get a job and that whole thing. And she was like, you've come so far. I know it's tough. Just think about it. Just give it the weekend, right? And so I'm sitting on the porch, and I used to follow this blog called Both Sides of the Table. It was a guy who was a startup founder, and now he's a VC. And the email said, here's the one reason your business is probably failing. And I was like, oh, how timely. So I click it open, and it says, you should have asked for more help. That was the whole email. The whole thing. You should have asked for help. I didn't ask for help. I had not asked for help that entire time. And I go on LinkedIn because I was like about to look for a job. I'm like, let me look for a job. And I see this thing about Jax Bridges. It was the first cohort. They were going to teach entrepreneurs how to build businesses. It was free for the Jacksonville community, and the deadline to apply was that day.
Wow.
So I applied, I got in, I learned about business models, value propositions, vertical markets, basic accounting, all of that stuff. And when you put that in with my interpersonal relationship skills and my ability to ask for money and to, close the deal, it closed the gap for me. And so I was able to turn the company around.
You can give two people the same information, the same contacts, the same business idea, the same startup capital, and they will either execute it very differently, or their outcomes will be very different.
They will absolutely execute it very differently.
So my whole thing is, in terms of protection, which is part of your special sauce in terms of getting your ideas from your head to product in 90 days. You help people with patents. And I think historically, talking about this PTSD, we have invented things.
A lot of things.
Yes. Many have said things are still used today in some capacity or exactly like they were invented.
Like this table.
The table or a broom.
Yep.
Or refrigerator or all the things.
AC.
Elevators.
All of that. All us.
All us, right? And so, but somehow, and so that's why you see the Own Your Masters. And I'm really trying to, we have to rethink the game. So it's never been that we didn't have the capacity or the intelligence to invent. It's really been the ability to protect.
Yeah.
And you said earlier you didn't feel protected.
Yeah.
Right? And so you left the country. And I'm saying that we are not protecting our ideas the way we should. So talk about how you help all your clients protect their ideas.
Well, let me just say this. 99% of my clients are African American.
Really?
Yes.
How is that on purpose or is it just?
So initially it was on purpose. It was on purpose because I felt, well, for starters, my network
is
black. And so the people who were asking me for help and support first looked like me. And as I continued to expand and grow, I was actually very intentional about marketing and advertising to our community because I felt that because of the robbery of ideas and intellectual property from the past and the lack of access to knowledge and information or even to credit, that I wanted to impart that knowledge and wisdom that I had learned in my community first.
Is it an expensive process? Talk about how much it costs to get the patent.
It can be. I mean, so here's the thing: when in terms of patents go, we actually show all of our inventors how to self-file their first patent.
Really?
So their provisional patent, the only cost is the cost for filing, and depending on their income, that could be anywhere from $65 to $265.
It depends on income?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
You can get a micro entity status if you make less than $160,000 a year.
Gotcha.
That brings your patent cost down to $65.
Game. Yeah. Free game. This is on the internet. Because what I don't want people to say is I didn't know how to do something. Yeah. Right? You know what I mean? So she's just breaking it down, right? Yeah. All these mental barriers that we have.
And they've updated their system in February, and they got a whole new system that makes it a lot easier for everyday average Americans to file, because the cost of filing a patent through an attorney, a provisional, which is your first step patent, is anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000.
Right.
And
that in and of itself can be a barrier.
It's a huge barrier, especially since you don't need anyone to file your first patent because they don't even examine it. It's a placeholder. It's a date placeholder. That's it.
Yeah.
They don't examine it until you file the non-provisional. That's your big boy patent. And we do have our inventors work with an attorney for that. That one is pricey, around $7,000 to $10,000. But you have a year to get to that patent. You can develop your product, test it in the marketplace, walk away from the idea if you don't like it, double down on the idea, maybe generate some revenue, and then file your big boy patent.
In a way, investing in an attorney for that patent is doubling down.
Yeah, and it's a 20-year patent. That's when you start getting to your IP being protected for a couple of decades. It's your legacy patent, basically.
That's really, really important.
Yeah.
And how much is it for your clients to, let's just go into it, right? Okay. So let's go into just the business model, right? Your business model for the coaching business. Because I think it's so important. That's one of the reasons why I really want to interview. It's so important, like, to have someone, and to close, we'll talk about why, but like, that is helping us create products.
Yeah.
And then but starting with protecting them. Yeah. Right, and then create them.